It is Friday, and Friday is the Tile Happy Hour. We are so excited that you are here to join us for episode 9. Can you believe it? It's been 9 weeks, and time it took for me to fail a class in college. We've gone that distance. I am here with my partner, John Tedesco. We are back from Orlando. We hope that we saw you in Orlando. If we didn't, it was because I was hiding somewhere or I was tired. That is a big place. John, it has been a week trying to catch up with things. How are you, my friend? And I'm going to say, drink Cam, cheers.
Cheers to you. I'm doing really well. Thank you. All I have to say is, wow, first, the show was absolutely amazing. The turnout was incredible. And we did get to see a lot of people there. It was really good. But the week coming back from the show is just madness.
Brutal.
It really is crazy when you have to break your routine at work, and it's tough. Catch up.
Tough. John, today it's happy hour, so we have a drink, and I want to tell you about what I have, but I want you to go first.
Just straight up whiskey and rocks. Just really happy with this tonight.
Whiskey and rocks. Well, I'm from the South here, and what is normally in a mason jar? I mean, that water, you think?
Pee?
No, I am definitely not that hydrated. Promise. This is what we like to call in the mountains Mountain Dew, and it is. Some people use it as varnish, or not varnish remover, or varnish or varnish remover.
So it's moonshine then.
It is moonshine, and
wow.
I found it in the back of my cabinet. I don't remember where I got it from, what radiator it was created out of, but my word, it is something else.
Have you ever had grappa?
I have had grappa, and
how would it compare to that, like intensity wise? Because that's
it's a step up. It literally is. The good thing about grappa is that it's got a little bit of a flavor. It is turpentine. I mean, if I was smart enough, I'm pretty confident I could fuel a go-kart chainsaw with that. And if I remember correctly, my buddy that is a tile setter, he's from Bosnia, and he brought it to me. I don't know if he made it in Bosnia. I don't know if he smuggled it in, but I've had that in my cabinet for a while. And I said, well, after coverings and the week of returning from coverings, I said, that's a pretty good kick in the pants to get this new season. I don't know if it's a new season, whatever you call that, this episode 9 started. And if you're watching live, I hope you are. Let us know where you're watching from, what platform you're watching on. We want to hear from you. As we've said before, this is not our show. This is your show. We're here to talk about tile industry, tile fun stuff, tile problems, and just have a good time enjoying the people in our industry, which is what we just did in coverings last week. If you're watching on a replay, we still want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and we'll respond. We love to answer questions. We love to connect. And that was the greatest thing about coverings last week, is being able to connect with industry professionals. And
it's true. It's been it's a fantastic show. It's our staple show in the industry in the States, and it brings everyone together. 1,000+ exhibitors, 30, 40. I think we were corrected. We thought it was 30, 40 countries. And
I think Kristen said it was 55, if I'm not mistaken.
So figure 50 to 60 countries represented exhibit wise. So, I mean, not attendees, these probably more. I didn't know there were that many countries.
I didn't either. I thought the only countries were Alaska and Hawaii were the only other countries I knew of. But I went to school in Eastern North Carolina, so don't
explains a lot. Yeah,
don't quote me on that.
Well, keep that drink away from open flame too, because there's enough that's frying your brain.
The good thing about that drink, it burns blue.
Okay.
I've actually, when you're bored in the country, that's what you do. You test it out and you see it burns blue.
Well, speaking of blue,
yes.
No, nothing. No. Do you know what today is? National something day.
I thought about that earlier today. I'm like, I need to know what today is. And I read something somewhere and I already forgot it because I've got the memory of a gnat. So, John, tell me what gnat today is.
Today is National Blueberry Day. Blueberry Pie Day, I think. Yeah.
Blueberry pie? That's
Blueberry Pie Day. Yes.
Well, I have blueberry bushes. And I did notice the other day as my wife and I were trying to get the garden ready for summer. We have blueberries that have bloomed and got some not ripe berries yet.
I would assume that they kind of timed it for when it's starting to bloom, like they wouldn't have it in the middle of the winter. So there's a bunch of other days here I was just checking out. National Hairball Awareness Day.
Okay, that is very important for those weird people who own cats, which
exactly
I don't support at all.
Okay, and then this one you'll support, National Superhero Day. That I like.
Of course. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, how can you go wrong with a good superhero?
Exactly. Well, talking about superheroes, we met some people in our ventures in Orlando. This year's show was at the Orange County Convention Center in beautiful Orlando, International Drive. Really just a spotless venue, right? Just clean. You don't see a speck of paper on the floor. A lot of green.
It was too big, though.
Well, you know what's interesting is that, yeah, it's big, but every covering show is always really tremendous. But this particular venue is really good because you see how big it is because it's one big square convention hall. As a matter of fact, they call it a North Hall and a South Hall, and the reason they do it that way is because most trade shows are half that building. So, and they have two entrances that look the same. And it's interesting because my hotel was in the back, and I know there was an entrance on the North Hall. So I took my Uber every morning, and I had them go past the South entrance. And go all the way around, all the way to the front, and go to the north entrance. And only the last day to show. I'm like, wait a minute, it's the same freaking building. I could have just gone through
could have walked.
Even the Uber was like pointing, isn't that the show? I was like, no, it says here north entrance.
Yeah.
So
how did you get a hotel room? I didn't get that approved. I had to sleep in a camper.
Well, you know, you're still in your 90-day probationary period at Tile Bar. So
I will say Orlando, the convention center was spotless and the show was amazing. Orlando, and we had the best weather. I mean, it was really gorgeous down there. But the traffic in Orlando it's had to have tripled since I was there last. And getting around, even though my camper was less than a mile, I could see the convention center from the Walmart parking lot I was sleeping in. But it still took me 25 minutes to get there, and it took me another 15 minutes to get an Uber. It was that was the frustrating part of the show for me because I couldn't get, like you, but the weather was amazing. It was, it was nice to put the windows down in the camper and just let the breeze blow through.
You know what? Coming from, the New York, it was, it's getting a little nicer here, but to be down in Florida at this time of year, if it's not pouring rain out down there, which it wasn't, it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
and I've been to
was a challenge because when the times that we were mobile and we were in action, the rest of the show is moving around. So the beginning of the show, after everyone going out to dinner, out for drinks, and so hey everybody, where are you watching from? We'd love to hear. Send us a message, say hello. We want to know what state, what town. If you went to the show, let us know. If you're watching this live, chime in with a question. If you are not watching this live, but you are alive, just watching this when it's not being broadcast live, post a comment, say hello, let us know.
That does get confusing, doesn't it? We fiddled through that a little bit. It was an honor to be able to do our show recorded live in the concourse with all of our some of our coworkers, all these industry professionals looking at you and I interviewing industry icons, and they're like, "Who are those nerds down there talking to these important people?" That was a true honor to be able to have the Tile Happy Hour represented there. And
yeah, we were really honored to be invited to. Oh, you have your badge. Very nice.
yeah, press. I was pretty impressed by that. Shout out to Barbara in the press room. She was amazing,
She was
and
good.
she got me cookies, except for on the last day, John ate them all.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Well, you cut out, but yeah. So we had our press passes, so that was cool. We were able to kind of group in the press room, get our assets together. They really had a cool podcast studio, which was out across from the registration area, away from the floor, from the show floor, to keep the sound a little better quality. And it was really nice. We had two special guests, Kristen Coleman, Executive Vice President at Novita Communications, who's I think one of the original clients of Novita Communications has been the Italian tile industry through the association and Confindustria, and then also we had the CEO of Ceramica Sant'Agostino, which is a really a well-known brand, iconic brand in the tile industry. I think it was Filippo Manuzzi, and I think you said it was third generation. Did he say that?
He did say that, and he,
yeah.
I know a lot of people got confused because he looked a lot like me.
Yeah, they thought he was your brother.
We were like doppelgangers, I think. Yeah. But no, that, yeah, and Novita, ceramic of Italy, and I think I knew this, but I forgot that they are part owners of the Covering Show. Correct?
Well, yeah. So Confindustria is the group of Italian factories. I think there's 60 of them that kind of have this collaboration that is the Italian component of the show, and then there's Tile Council, right, of North America, and then there's the Tiles of Spain, and there's a few organizations that really are the sponsors of the show, and they put it together. There is another Italian contingency that's not related to that part. There's another Italian contingency which is more like the artisan stone world, and they have their own little organization, a different part of the show. And you may have noticed there was like these aisles with these white booths, and they all had the same booths. And for the most part, historically, they've been like stone quarries and the ones that really weren't. Yeah, they really weren't part of the tile ceramic industry part. Right. So there is another Italian contingency there, a big part too. And then there's factories from all over the world, really. And the Spanish pavilion was phenomenal too. I think the show was and always is kind of dominated by the Italian and the Spanish factories.
Yeah.
Of course, there's domestic factories, and every factory
Asia, and and the good thing about that show, if you're a designer or an architect or an engineer, that's where they release stuff. We saw a lot of new items coming on the market. There's a couple of different shows throughout the year where the factories will put out, the things that are coming soon, and there was a lot of that. John, what was your favorite?
I'd have to say that we may have some pictures later. We'll take a look, but there was some really cool wood grain tile, but not planks, kind of like chevron tiles, and create like a parquet look. It was like an elevated wood grain porcelain tile, which we may have some pictures. I know we had a whole bunch of pictures. We'll check it out later.
I have your entire photo album, so we'll scroll through that. But if you were at the show, what was your favorite thing that you saw? What caught your eye? Was it a new tool? Was it something you hadn't seen before? There was so much there. It's overwhelming. My brain's not that big. I struggle kind of taking it all in. I took some pictures, but I neglected to upload them, so we only can look at John's.
Well, so you asked me what I liked. As far as, I really was only looking at tile and stone, but I know you were in the technical area for tools and machinery. So let me ask you twofold: what was your favorite tile, stone, glass, and then what about in the installation realm? Was there anything new that you saw that was pretty cool?
In the tile realm, what I saw that kind of caught my eye, and I don't know all the names. I walked around with my camera and kind of just got a feel for everything. But there was some uber large, full thickness onyx looking like wall panels, and they were beautiful. And I've seen some of those before in photographs, but being in, and there was a couple of different vendors that had them or factories that had them. Those are pretty impressive. And the detail of these onyx and stones in this large pattern, they look so real. If you didn't know what you're looking at, you would think it was a several $1,000 slab of natural stone, but it's not. It's a porcelain tile.
There's a factory in Italy called Anatolia, and Anatolia, you're probably speaking of that and maybe some others. Anatolia historically has been the the Gucci of stone slabs. And I've been to their facilities in Italy. They're up at there's a Verona show. They're there, and they usually have a booth. You can't even call it a booth. It's a building within the show, and they usually have runways. And the runways, the floors are onyx backlit, and they have models walking back and forth with on this. They do like a fashion show on top of these onyx slabs. So when I walked into that booth, I saw these beautiful slabs of onyx and marble. Knowing them as a stone company, I was very impressed. And then as the factory representative was talking, I'm like, wait a minute, she's talking, these are actually porcelain. So they've gone into the realm of porcelain, but they procure the most upscale, high-end stone slabs. And as you know, the technology is kind of imagery put onto porcelains. So they are picking the best of the best that only they have access to in the real stones, because the slabs could be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 sometimes for slabs. And they're able to use those assets to replicate them on porcelain. So they're using the best examples, the best models of the real material, and using really good techniques to have them fired into the porcelains, and it was just amazing.
It's not a dot matrix printer, friends. We've come a long way. And you asked me about the other part of the show, which is the technical part. And I'm a nerd, and the greatest thing is seeing my fellow nerds. And I want to give a shout out to Keith Stevens. He and I have been in the tile and stone industry for a long time. And what was hilarious is Keith saw us and doing the podcast and actually, stopped. Now, he didn't stop to listen, so I'm not exactly sure if I should be offended, but he did take a picture and give me a thumbs up. But Keith and I met when I was a commercial installer. And the great thing about being an installer and being part of that side of the industry are the classes and the technical nerdy stuff. And that's what I enjoyed the most about it. I didn't really see any tools or anything that was outside of the normal that kind of blew my socks off. But I went to several different classes just because I want to keep up on what the TCNA has got going on, what ANSI's got going on. And James Woelfel gave a great, I don't know if you call it a keynote or a class on some failures and some updates. And I went to a live installation of the pedestal system with 2CM's porcelain tiles, which is a really cool area of expansion for the ceramic and porcelain tile industry, is taking these rooftop spaces that were normally just roofs and making them into livable outdoor spaces. And that was a great demonstration. And
let me ask you a question. So just to explain to people, they're kind of like these plastic, they call them pedestals.
Correct.
2 to 4 inches, I guess, off the ground. Sometimes they're adjustable, right?
Correct.
And when you put 4 tiles together, there's one pedestal that kind of rests locks in between it. But do the pedestals get secured down? They must get secured down, right?
I asked that question, and no, they don't.
Wild.
There are a couple of occasions where they can, but for the most part, they are not installed. It's the weight of the
Gravity.
Yeah, gravity's holding it down, which is one of the big and ANSI and TCNA are addressing this and coming up with, what do you call it? Procedures and specifications for it.
Standards.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, because if you are in the right or the wrong condition, depending on how you look at it, you can get an uplift of wind, and it can blow those 40-pound tiles off the ceiling. So there's different things you can do to the pedestals to hold that together. It's really an engineering issue, not an installation or a distributor issue that you and I would be involved in. But the great thing is, once again, they're adding square footage to an industry that we love, and I love it. I love outdoor spaces. I've been trying to figure out how to get it on my roof, but my roof is pitched to,
well, you know what? It's yes, it's doing all those things that you said, but it's also giving a design element that wasn't previously available, right? If you're doing a patio, let's say, and even forget about the elevated systems, right? The platforms. Mm-hmm. So the platforms, you really only need the platform if you're doing it on like a roof, or you want to be able to run service underneath it, right? If you want to be able to run wires,
watershed,
so there's no grout, right? In that,
there's no grout. Yeah, the water runs right through the tiles and right to your waterproofing system that is underneath it, and exit the building however that is, whether it's a scupper or a gutter system.
So Craig, but I'm thinking, as far as the tile industry is concerned, I'm just going to stab at this, like 80% at least of the volume is going to be just glued, cemented down. It's not going to be a pedestal system, maybe more.
Yeah.
So, but what I find really cool is, here in the New York area, I see advertisements all the time for like these brick pavers that are really concrete pavers. And then I see ads for like sealers and all this conversation about, have your pavers power washed and sealed? Does your driveway look really bad because your pavers have faded and worn out? And pavers are usually dark too, so they could get really hot. So the porcelain doesn't have any of those issues because you don't need a sealer. It doesn't wear out. So it's like leap years ahead of the concrete pavers. The concrete pavers are pretty much cementitious and they're cured. So even the hardness is not there, right? But porcelain is fired at 1200 degrees or Celsius.
Yeah, it's baked hot.
Yeah.
And that's why the concrete pavers are much thicker. Normally those are 3 or 4 inches thick. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on that. Landscape contractors, can I get a thumbs up? But once again, that added square footage is what we're always looking for. Tile traditionally in the US of A is, bathrooms, backsplashes, kitchens, and lobbies. But another area that I took a class on was exterior installations and how to put tile on the outside of a building. And we talked about a little bit about that a few weeks ago with the thin gauge porcelain and the vented facades and facades.
Yes, we had an episode on facades. That was really good.
That's right. Check it out if you want to know more about that. And those are the interesting things for me in the technical aspect. Let's see, Keith has got a little piece of knowledge he was going to drop in. The Edge of Manhattan is porcelain paver pedestal system, snow melt as well, secured, of course. Pretty amazing.
Oh, the place called The Edge, not like
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I read that like it was The Edge. I think of The Edge, I think of the guitarist, but you guys are thinking of the correct Edge. And if you know who the Edge guitarist, what band they're in, drop that in the comments.
What will they get? What will they get as a prize? Do you have any prizes there?
I've got some prizes. I mean, I've got some coasters.
Nice.
I've got I got a postcard. It says "Let's get technical" from I'll just find things
again.
around my office. Just find things around my office that I will. Look at that.
Look at that.
Look
Flip
at that.
that around.
Two guys. It's the happy hour.
Spin it more. Keep spinning. Keep spinning. The other way. The other way. The other way. There you go. It's the happy hour coasters. These are limited edition, folks. Some really happy people who are recipients of these at our podcast in our audience, and also we kind of force them on people as we're walking, down the aisle.
I think most of the people that got them from us probably didn't want them, but they got them anyway, and now they have to do that. But we were talking about drains, and John, this is my attempt at a segue. I like to look for funny stuff, and I don't know if I am funny. I think I'm funny. My wife tells me I'm funny looking. But I had a Friday fail that I found while I was walking around Orlando, and I will not tell where it is. But how about I throw that up and let you?
Yeah, I'd love to see your Friday fail.
Your opinion on it. Here we go. A shower tile installation needs to reflect the atmosphere of a relaxing spa environment. Precise and exact cuts need to be made so there are no distractions. Or you could just do this. John, those are the kind of places I have to stay in. I know the Ritz where you were staying has probably got a better drain than that, but I want to do a.
I had like an indoor pool in my room, and everything was fine.
In your room. I had a what do they call those things in the parking lots of Walmart? The drainage things. So it was like a pool. I mean, it was full of water.
Well, you know what? I see that fail. Oh my God!
Of course, my wife. Everything I have, you have, honey.
Yeah, Leanne, free coaster for you. You get Craig.
That's right. But what I want to do, I'm going to compile all of the nasty drain pictures that I can find and do like a top 10 ugly drain, and maybe let's have a contest or something and we'll find something that people want to give away. I don't know what that would be.
I think that separates the boys from the men, those drains, right? When a tile guy's doing a job, the four corners may not line up, you may not notice it, but when it gets to those drains, because there's a lot of things happening there. You have to be able to slope the tile properly. At the same time, you have to cut around usually a circle, right, for the drain. And we've all seen some really
terrible,
horrendous,
terrible. And as an installer, or I still have my installer roots. I want to take up for the guy in the field, and most of the time, they are put in a situation where it doesn't work, and unfortunately, most of the time they don't stand up and say, "I can't install this way. You've got to fix it, Mr. GC, Mr. Homeowner, or you've got to give me some extra money so I can fix it." And they are either told no or told the guy down the street will do it, and they just do the best they can. So I don't give them a hard time for trying, but sometimes you just got to say no.
Yeah, well,
I told a guy today, no is a complete sentence.
Yeah. Okay, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You know what? A professional should just know when to stop. I mean, there are times I guess professionals just like, look, if it doesn't lead to something dangerous, then customer wants it, and they're gonna hire the next guy to do it crappy. But if you're like a heart surgeon, they give you the wrong like parts. You got to stop and say, wait a minute, something's not right here. We can't proceed. But it's also with contractors, I feel sometimes that they could probably benefit from evaluating the project before they show up, or while they're bidding the job. Like, well, you have 12 square feet of shower floor. Okay, great. No, like ask. You need to ask a lot of questions, because it's way different to be installing, 2x2 porcelain mosaic as opposed to a octagon with an insert in there, right, or a pattern tile.
And a lot of times a smaller contractor doesn't see the big picture.
Right.
And the big picture is that I don't know. I don't remember where I frankly don't remember where I took that picture, but that gives the entire industry a bad look. Now
Yeah.
you may get paid for that job as your but what happens is you may not get the next job because it looks terrible. And in the big picture of things, you're costing the industry. It was like, gosh, why do I even deal with tile? Because I get something like this, I should put in sheet vinyl and it's going to be better. So those things like that are big picture things. And as industry professionals, we want to lift up the industry because every time we lift up the industry, we get paid more.
Right.
And
Yeah. No. Be accountable. Be accountable to your trade, to your colleagues in the industry, and you don't want someone putting a fiberglass shower base down because they saw a crappy tile installation.
exactly.
You want a nice shower floor, but you got to charge the right amount. I mean, that's typically one of the first. There's two reasons why people do bad jobs. Sometimes they just underprice it and just bang it out, and they're like the customer got what they paid for. But the customer doesn't know. They don't necessarily know what's best.
They're not the professional.
Right. Exactly.
John, kind of not off the subject, but back to coverings. When you were there, there's been this surge over the last few years of porcelain countertops. Have you seen that? Is that a big deal in where you're from?
I don't know. It's not. Large slabs, yes. But
okay.
Using them on countertops, first place.
Large slabs in thin gauge porcelain, not stone slabs, correct?
Yeah, so thin porcelain, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, thin porcelain is definitely a super challenge on the counters because then you have the edges and you have the sink cut out. The industry was really interesting as the industry went like they went really thin, super thin, right? Like 6 millimeters, right?
Right.
And now they're actually going thicker. So
yes. That was some of the stuff that I saw with that Onyx stuff. They're a little bit thicker.
Yeah. And, but the challenge with that is that still the edging is not necessarily the same look as the surface. So if you take a piece of marble with veining and you cut it, and then you can't bevel an edge of porcelain. I personally am not a fan of, I'm a fan of the I have a bathroom vanity top that's out of porcelain, but it was kind of like prefabricated at the factory, and they mited it and epoxied it, and it has a sink in there. So the performance is great. You could put anything on there. It's black, solid black, but you put toothpaste, but nothing absorbs. So anything on there, cool. Mouthwash, and it's very durable. I love how it functions, but we're not quite there where,
right.
And and it's also a smaller quantity. Somebody's home needs, not a lot of square feet. Yeah. So to me, it's not worth to put the energy into it yet until we figure out the edging, I think.
I'm going to give a shout out to Danielle. She just jumped in the conversation. Evidently, Top Zero Sinks has got the corner market on being able to put that with.
Wow, I'm familiar with that product, and I actually neglected to come to top of mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you should have, because evidently she's from Massapequa.
Yeah, I'm from Massapequa.
Hey, I know somebody famous from Massapequa.
There's a lot of people from Massapequa. Who do you know?
But I mean, Jerry Seinfeld is from Massapequa.
Yes, he is. Also, Dee Snider.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Well, Diane, thanks for jumping in. Top Zero Sinks, not sponsored, but we'll take your sponsorship. No, just joking.
But no, she has a good point. That's an example of ingenuity where it conceals the inside rim of the sink. I'm reading from her notes here.
Yeah.
I didn't know that she was going to be watching. That's great. Yeah. So so that is something that a lot of stone slab yards that also now offer porcelain slabs, that's kind of addressing that question. So
I worked for a countertop company briefly, and that was right when
how fast did they fire you?
It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
No, no. And that was right when they started using porcelain for countertops. And this is a top notch. I mean, they do high end custom homes. And I got very familiar with that process. And the porcelain tile process is completely different. And I think there is a place for it. I don't think that the technical aspects of how to get it installed and all that
Right.
stuff is there yet. I mean, we had a something the other day where a client installed it on a desktop, which is fine, but they had
Right.
no supports underneath where the person would
Right.
sit. So the first time they leaned on the desk, it fractured, it broke.
Right.
So
If you find a way to install it properly and address the sink, which that product does, and address the edge, if you're going to miter it and epoxy it or recess it,
right.
if you address all that, which our industry is going towards, and that's
Yeah.
why that product was developed, I do like porcelain surface probably better than quartz and better than granite and better than marble, really, because quartz is super good, and so is granite.
I mean,
Quartz,
toilets are made out of porcelain.
right? Yeah, exactly. but as far as like, if you get a high quality quartz, say like a Cambria quartz, which
Uh-huh.
has really high quartz content and very little resin, some of the
Right.
cheaper quartz out there has more resin, and so I think those can be susceptible to burning or scratching over time. Not too likely, but possible. So good quality quartz, you'll never have a problem with. The same
Yeah.
with the porcelain. You could, porcelain's fired super high temperatures. So, yeah, that was. I think that it's going to become bigger and bigger, especially now that the thin slabs are now backing up a little and going thicker,
Mhm.
and it's going to be big. It really is.
Yeah. I met with a lot of edge trims, and obviously, Latacrete made the big announcement where they're doing edge trims, and there's so many different ways to finish a tile system, no matter what it's on, whether it's a countertop or a kitchen or whatever, and they offer solutions for anything. And so there's always a solution. I will say that the TCNA and the ANSI, they tread slowly, and I think that's purposefully done just so that they make sure that there's some trial and error out there, that we figure out exactly what's going on, and
Right.
before they jump in and go headfirst and print these really thick books with some bad information in it. So it's coming, and I look forward to
Well,
seeing it.
Craig, I would think that some of the time is to test things out too, right? It's
Yeah.
like you have to try things out, and there's often, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are times where a new kind of product comes out and there isn't that TCNA standard yet, and it's kind of in what do they call that in the technology, test mode? There's a word. Beta, right?
Yeah.
So it's in beta mode, and some people, like when glass tile came out and everybody screwed it up, and
Right.
and thought glass tile was done forever, and that's not the case. It's just that installer screwed it up, had to rip out $30 square foot glass, and had to buy new material and rip it out and put it back in, but before he put it back in, this time he read the instructions, but he
That's right.
also used the right setting materials.
Yeah.
Maybe in the beginning those didn't exist, now they exist, but some guys don't like to read instructions. So,
And I say that so much. The instructions are the most critical part, and they trump the TCNA book. They trump ANSI. The manufacturer's instructions are the first line of anything, and nothing TCNA says, nothing ANSI says, and nothing the guy in the field that's been doing 20 years can trump the manufacturer's instructions. So
let me ask you, if there was a unfortunate situation and it went into litigation,
Mhm.
so what you're saying, that if the manufacturer's instruction says A and TCNA says B, they should really be doing A?
Correct. And
TCNA textbook probably tells you that, handbook tells you that, right?
It does. And yep, it'll tell you that exact order. And because there's so many different, and the materials are changing, just like we were
Right.
talking about with Diane with the sinks. Things change more quickly than the TCNA book. So if Laticrete comes out with a mortar tomorrow that can stick, whatever to whatever that's never been done before,
Right.
that is where that's where you're going to rely on. Because just for example, I installed a 3mm thin gauge porcelain tile on a floor before there was a method from TCNA. And when the method came out, it actually said I can't do that. But yet the tile manufacturer and the setting material manufacturer wrote me a warranty for it, which means I was covered.
Right.
So the people that sell stuff are the innovators, and they're going to be ahead of the
Right.
specifications.
You know what? You said a key word there. You say covered, and that makes me think of coverings. Do you have any pictures from the show?
Yeah. Let's look at your photo album from the show.
Well, this is just a few snapshots. First place, I think the Orange County Convention Center is the most photogenic convention center I haven't seen, at least in the States. Javits Center is pretty cool, but if you take the right shot of it, but this is really cool. So that
looks like a drawing, and that's pretty amazing. So, and that,
you know what, that could very well be rendering or it looks exactly like that. Like it looks surreal, like the Jetsons.
And that is deceptive on how big it is. I wish there was a person on there because it is. It's a big place.
If there was a person on that sidewalk, you wouldn't barely see them. And
Correct.
that is half the hall, and the other side, that same like curved entranceway, those arches are replicated on the back to create one big hall or two smaller halls, if we want to say.
Right.
So speaking of that, that is Jeff, right? And Don Eberly and Jeff, and they're actually very well responsible for a lot of what happens at the covering show, but they're in the background because they're the PR company. Yep. So they let
they're responsible for us knuckleheads getting our podcast there.
Yeah, they're not proud of that, but look, everyone makes mistakes,
Everyone makes mistakes, but now we're in, and I feel like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure we're going to be on the main stage. Back.
You know what? We did get to see a lot of I have a newfound respect for what companies like them do. They were putting together tours. They had influencers who were literally showing up in the press office and kind of getting instructions or whatever, and the influencers would go out and do their reviews, and they would make sure that they're doing their part of the deal to promote. And it was really exciting to see that, because that whole influencer thing is kind of new to the world. So it was pretty cool to see that. And as a matter of fact, the press room, which I've been in before, has gotten, the table that has press kits has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller every year, because most companies now have digital press kits, like a little USB. There are some printed materials, but it's a fraction of what it used to be. So that was pretty interesting.
Interesting, and it was. They thank you to those guys. They took great care of us, and we had what we needed. I feel like you and I are influencers, but we were so busy we couldn't take the tours.
Yeah. Don and Jeff are really doing a great job.
Those guys did work. Circle. They were always had something happening.
Yeah, it was good to see the back scenes of that, behind the scenes. Elena Capra is the ambassador for covering show, so she works closely with Jeff and Don, and with actually all I assume all the trade organizations that sponsor and put together and pay for the covering show. So she is the face of covering. She is the spokesperson for coverings.
And she went to high school with you?
Oh my God. So it's crazy. So not the same year, or probably not the same decade. But when I met her when I was, this was maybe, 7 years ago or so.
Right.
Become talking like, oh, you're from New York? Oh, cool. And I was I was excited that they had an ambassador like to represent coverings. Like, that's cool. And then I found out she's from New York, then from Long Island, then from Valley Stream, and then from Valley Stream Central High School. I was like, what? So it's crazy. So there's something in the water here in Valley Stream that has emerged, has brought two tile people. It's amazing. I just find it really cool.
Even Danielle says she's the best.
She's
really the best that high school ever put out. No offense, John.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, had some pretty cool people there. But
what's this tile? And that's my buddy Matt Wass. That I've known him for 20 plus years. What is this stuff? It looks like wallpaper.
Well, these were So biophilic was a theme at the show, which is kind of bringing very like natural things to products. So very organic. So this company produced very large porcelain slabs of patterned materials, and I say biophilic because a lot of them, the ones that impressed me, were the ones that look like big leaves and jungle scenes. And they just had a cool way of instead of showing you square pieces of tile, they cut them in circles, and they had it like felt mounted, and you could pull it out of this display and hold it up. And yes,
now biophilic doesn't necessarily educate me here. That doesn't necessarily mean how it's made. Does that mean
no? It's just a look. It's just the look. The biophilic look is that kind of organic, bringing nature inside. I don't know if that means inside or not, but kind of that look. So on the left side there, you'll see just an average day at Coverings, and your eye can't even see to the end of the hall. You're looking at literally like 1/50th of the show there, or 100th of the show. The halls were packed. People were out and about. It was great to see everyone healthy, no masks. Really, it was really good. Oh, on the right is the ribbon cutting.
So that they do that kind of to open the show, and I think that's on Monday evening. Is that right?
Yeah. So they do the opening of the show. I'm not sure if it's Monday evening. I didn't take that picture. Actually, every other picture here I took. This one I just stole from somewhere. Yeah.
Who's that good-looking fella? Look at that guy.
Yeah, that guy in the orange shirt in the middle, sitting behind the desk. That's you, Craig.
That is me. He could stand to lose a couple pounds, but other than that.
Well, So that is our that's the podcast studio. Yeah. And to the right is Filippo Manuzzi, and then to the left is Kristen Coleman and myself and you at the podcast studio. So yeah, I didn't take that picture either, but it's on my camera. But
that's good. Yeah, that was a good time. I wish we'd have taken the water bottles down. I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like behind the scenes look, right?
It was a last not a last minute thing. It was like we had never broadcast in public before, which I hope we get the opportunity to do more.
Yeah. Well, they did allude to the fact that they would like to see us back, so that was good.
And where are you here in this orange room? Is that like a discoteca?
That was Willy Wonka's orange room. No, that was that factory was displaying, I think, all their tiles. I think they were trying to display their formats were all different shapes and sizes. So they decided to show all their tile white, and basically someone said, this is pretty boring. So let's
paint the room orange.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm only guessing. I thought it was a good background. I really didn't dig deep into that at all.
I think it's kind of, I mean,
it looks better in the photo. In person, it was like and there was no one in the booth because I feel like he would probably be uncomfortable.
I feel like it needs a disco ball and you need a wider collar. That's just my opinion.
Oh, thank you. So there's that circle. So behind me is the large format porcelain. In my hand, that's not a tile or a big penny round. And to the right, Todd, he's with our team. That's just a way of showing the tile. It was really ingenious, because if that was like a square tile, we wouldn't be like posing with it. We'd be like just another tile in the show.
Exactly.
But it was round, and it was like, wow. So as you could see, it takes very little to impress us.
Well, we are tile industry professionals. So
yeah. And in the middle picture, there's either a super big giant or a really short guy, because there's like really
he's a basketball player. Maybe
I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I took that picture and I don't remember. And it's not like an optical illusion. That guy is really tall, and the other guy is vertically challenged, perhaps. Because
is that Tom Cruise there? Maybe?
Yeah, that is Tom Cruise. And then And okay, so this is a really secret on the left. That's kind of our behind the scenes product team. Elisheva is really such an important part of the Tile Bar team, and that's part of her team. There's one or two people missing from the picture.
Right.
And anything product wise being developed by Tile Bar, that's being procured by Tile Bar. She is the right hand lady of the CEO of the company. So any products, every product goes through her from everything. Even
those ladies look at the things before the world does, and I'm involved with that front end a lot, just because there's some products that I bring on board, technical products. So those ladies are amazing, and they do a great job of getting new factories, new vendors organized, and organizing the workflow to get the stuff. So shout out to the entire product team, and it was cool to see them there. I know that Elisheva has been before, but I think the Adina and the other three, I don't think they'd been there before.
Yeah, well, she used to be an army of one, and now she was able to. We're expanding. In fact, so much our company that she has a team, and she is a great leader and very knowledgeable in the industry, and we're really lucky to have her. And then the other picture, this is like a little group shot of a few people from our team at one of the factory booths. So it was,
that's all sales, I believe, internal and external.
Yeah.
Oh, well, look at that. I doubled up the pictures because I got them 5 minutes before we went on the air.
So on the left side, so what's really notable is the size of that tile. Now that's not one tile. That's, I think, 4 tiles, which is still pretty damn big.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. So that's really, the graphic on that is incredible. The size of the pattern is really, really stands out. I could picture that in like the lobby of a hotel, really big.
I see it in the entryway of an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, super
I like the dimensional patterns that are on the far right here, and I've seen that they used to do that with stone mosaics. They'd have a black stone, a white stone, a gray stone,
right?
To give
but
it
like 4 inches, not
correct.
Like 3 feet each. So when you asked me at the beginning of this broadcast, what's one of my favorite tiles? This is what I was referring to, was this series, where in person it's just phenomenal product, and it comes in like a chevron. Also, I think we may have a picture of that.
Those are really cool.
There's a lot you can do with that. It's really nice.
Now. Has that been on the market very long?
No, this
style and that type.
Well, I mean, to some degree, yes, but this collection has a lot going for it in size, in texture, and color, and flexibility. So this was pretty unique. I think our team thought this was a big, really big hit. And then if you look in the right, in the background, that's the same series showing other components like chevrons and things like that. So that's been it's really we love that. We really, really did. There's the Oceanside Glass team. So
is that Rick, our number one fan in that picture? I've never met him in person. Is that Rick?
So that's Rick. Oh yeah, that's right. That's Rick Crane from Oceanside Glass.
Shout out Rick, our number one fan. He's been, I think, since the beginning, every podcast. He's been quiet today. I think he's taking notes. I think right now he's just watching. I was going to say maybe he's still maybe he hadn't made it back from Orlando yet. But Oceanside Glass, always amazing, top notch.
I've been getting all his fan letters. What do you think? Have you been getting his fan letters?
I got a couple of fan letters from him. Yeah, I don't know if he's hinting around. Maybe he wants a coaster.
Yeah, he could just ask. He doesn't have to kiss up.
He could, yeah.
But what other pictures do we have?
Great partnership with them. Let me just talk about this picture on the left, because this gentleman right here is the Superman of tile. I mean, look at that. He's standing in front of flames, what it looks like. He's keeping his notes close to his chest. That's Matt Wass. Matt Wass is the man, the legend, for a long time. The man, the legend, the myth. And he's probably too cool to listen to this podcast, but That's him.
We'll send
And
him
my
the
wife,
transcript.
yeah, my wife's friend saw his picture somewhere where I was and she goes, "Who's that guy? I want to know that guy." And I was like, yeah, "He's married. Leave him alone, Matt." But Matt, and that piece behind him, do you know, is that an actual piece of onyx or is that a printed porcelain?
What's your final answer?
I feel like it's a piece of onyx.
Okay, wrong. That's the
Backlit.
Anatolia. That's the tile we were talking about earlier.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Isn't
That
that
is
incredible?
amazing. I mean, because can't you see that in a Las
Everywhere.
Vegas bar?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a lit piece of onyx.
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
just beautiful. It really is.
And the piece to your on the right, it looks like you're not working really hard there.
No, not at all. Not at all.
All right, we'll move on. Oh, look, I doubled up on that.
Yeah.
But the picture on the right is important.
Yeah. So next year, the covering show. So the covering show, I think the host country is usually Orlando.
Country, yes.
Sometimes it's Atlanta, sometimes it's Chicago, sometimes it's Vegas. I feel
Correct.
it's like, every 2 times or 3 times it's in Orlando. One time it's in
Yes.
Atlanta or Chicago. It's been many places, and it actually has been in places where it can no longer go back to because now the show is
So
bigger.
big.
Yeah, but it was in Anaheim once. It was in Miami once, but they can no longer handle the show. So yeah, next year, beautiful Atlanta. I love the architecture there. Really nice.
And if you're
April-
planning on going next year, send an email to them and tell them you want to make sure that the Tile Happy Hour podcast is broadcast live again in
Yeah, well,
Atlanta.
if you want to be part of the studio audience, you need to send in for your tickets ahead of time.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Do we have more slides? Let me. I'm gonna. Diane asked a question. It's just take a break from John's photo album.
Yeah.
Yes, Diane. These podcasts are on each of our channels and on YouTube, so you can watch them and listen to them as much as you want. And my channel is Tile the World on YouTube. John's channel is the Tile channel, right?
Yeah. So we broadcast this out typically on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, and I'm forgetting what. We always forget one. Like we always
Facebook. It's on Facebook too.
Right.
Yeah.
But we feel like I think LinkedIn and YouTube are probably the better of those platforms to find this. And
and
YouTube
it lives
sure.
forever on YouTube. On LinkedIn, I don't know if you can.
It does, but it's not like you have to scroll through. So yeah, YouTube is really the preferred place, I guess, to watch. When you're watching it at one live, it probably doesn't matter. But when you want to like archive it and look at the other 8 episodes that we had, and you can comment, and we'd welcome you to comment on previous episodes. We'd like to know what you think. Actually, we've come full circle on episode 9 because our first episode the topic was what, Craig?
It was coverings because our first episode was National Tile Day, which was fun, and it was on a Thursday just because it was National Tile Day. We launched then, and we're 9 episodes in, and conversations keep growing. The people watching keep growing. I know that there's people watching overseas now because Filippo Manuzzi was on board. So John, to round out your photo album.
Wait, hold on one moment. I have to comment. The other picture, Teresa and Lisa are icons in the industry from Sonoma Tile. I love their products. They're phenomenal people, good friends, just in love with their product and their vibe. Really cool tile made by really cool people, I think is their slogan. And I could vouch for that. Really super, super, super fun and really important in our industry for sure. And we have more pictures now.
I think I got one more slide. There's John saying welcome. Oh, this is another. That's you with those 4 tiles, and there on the right.
You can see the scale there better, right?
Yes, because you're taller than 4 foot tall, which I think she was.
Yeah.
But those are 2 tiles. So those tiles, I'm assuming, are 36 by 36, because you're roughly 6 feet tall. Is that right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
But that's a cool pattern.
I think those tiles were 40 by 40. I think I'm pretty sure.
What's 4 inches, John? Come on.
Well, so there's the rest of our product team. We had a little
drinks and a little happy hour.
A lot of drinks.
Come on, y'all had you notice everybody. I was not in there. You know where I was? I was trying to download the episode, trying to edit audio, and I was trying to get the episode ready because I'm a technical nerd and I tend to get a little anal about things. And we broadcast on Tuesday, and I had to figure out how to get a 300 gigabyte file uploaded through some Wi-Fi that it was a nightmare. I was that's why I was in none of the pictures.
This is how it works. So Coverings provided the tech for the
correct. He was great. His name was Brian. Shout out Brian. We appreciate you. You helped us out a great bit.
Yeah, I left my charging cable there, and he saved it for me the next day, so that was good.
He drank some of your water, but
So Craig's in the press room, and we already advertised that we're going to broadcast our podcast on Friday. We're at the show, and now it's Tuesday night or Wednesday. And how many hours did it say the download was to expect?
16 and a half hours. and this was on Thursday morning because we weren't able to get the audio file.
You didn't get it to us right away.
Yeah, because they did some tweaking to it, and I got in there first thing Thursday morning. I'm like, I'm boot up the computer. Me and Barbara, we're gonna have a muffin together, and I'm gonna click on it, and it's gonna upload. Then I looked at the file. I was like, oh my word, this is never gonna upload via Wi-Fi. And I scoured that 700 square foot building, 700 square mile building for a Ethernet cable, just trying to figure out how to do it. Ended up leaving early to fly home so I could get home and plug my computer in to upload it.
Wow.
And we still uploaded late. It didn't.
We broadcast on Saturday. That wasn't bad.
Was it Saturday? It was.
It was a big blur, I know.
That is why my forehead is so big. I used to have hair here last week, but now I do not.
And that's why you still haven't unpacked from the show.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of I pulled out my camera here, and everything else is still packed up. But that's okay.
It's been fun reviewing the show. We're happy to have everyone listen in. If you're a tile nerd or a tile geek or tile professional, this may be interesting to you. If you're not, you're probably not watching anymore.
Right.
But we do welcome you to comment, even if you see an episode that has passed. We do have our social assets here. The Tile channel, and there's my Instagram, and there's Craig's Instagram also, Tile the World. And we'd love for you to follow us. It's not just this. Well, we have a lot more to offer the industry, and that's through our, regularly, randomly posted things, if that makes any sense. Just through the week, we do product happy hours, we do product fails, random stuff, and we promise. Well, I'm not going to promise this. I'm not going to show you what I had for breakfast, as opposed to Craig is going to show you what he had for dinner.
Yeah. If you follow me on Instagram, I do a lot of tile specific, but the Instagram is my personal Instagram. So you are going to see when I cook a meal, I'm going to take a picture of it because I want people to know that I'm feeding my family. Right. And so you will see some things. My tile specific stuff is at Tile the World, but hey, follow me on my personal channels. Connect. It's all about the relationship. That's what any industry is. I love the tile industry. I love learning things new every day. I love seeing my friends like Keith Stevens and Niall and all those guys I got to hang out with, Jason Banks, just reconnecting and talking about the tile industry. And I want to do that all the time, but I do have to work sometimes.
Yeah, no, I get you. Well, folks, this has been fun. Craig's got to take a picture. Remember, the phone eats first, so you got to take a picture of your dinner before you eat it. Right. So we know what's happening, what kind of eggs you put in hot sauce on or whatever, or the other way around. But we really had a good time today to share. I actually just now, today, checked those pictures out, sent them over to you, and really hadn't looked at them till now. And it was actually really bringing back memories of the show.
I love watching
really
other
good.
people's home videos.
Yeah. So as my phone is ringing, I'm going to tell everyone I like to wish you peace, health, and happiness.
And do not forget, like, subscribe, follow us, and let's keep learning together and tile the world.